Hello and good evening. For All Mankind, Season 1, Episode 5, Into the Abyss is over, and it has been since November 15th of 2019, but we're just getting started here on this May 5th of 2025 as we continue our mission to watch every episode of For All Mankind and talk about it. I'm Dave Mader here on Live Long and Podcast, and we are back to talk all about it, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. We got a great panel here once again, coming from Mission Control, Jody Simpson himself. Representing for the Niagara Ice Dogs, it appears tonight.
Oh, yeah. That's what they wear in Mission Control in 1960.
Yeah, they were like, we're not big on the Ice Dogs, eh? You know?
I'm a time traveler. It's fine.
Yes. Coming in next, it's the great, inimitable Kevin Millard.
Hello, Dave.
You cannot be imitated.
That's right.
That's right. Next up, it's my brother and yours. It's Jeff Mader.
I'm not anyone else's brother.
Well, Rich is at least.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not my brother, pal.
But Rich is definitely not listening.
No.
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 Watch this show. I don't
This
know.
isn't about World of Warcraft.
Rich would like this show, I think, but yeah. Anyway, and coming in here last, or is
Wayne.
it? It's Wayne Cobb himself.
Hello, I'm very worried about my wife. You can see my mustache is melting as a result.
I
Smoke
see
another
that.
doobie.
Have another doobie. Why don't you make an album cover for Santana or something?
Don't mind if I do, boys.
Yeah.
Hey, that's
Hey,
my stick.
Yeah.
You're
Paint a
doing it for
disturbing
us all.
painting. Yeah, we need a nightmare painting. Can you work that in?
Yeah.
I think
so-
that mustache is going to get set on fire in a minute.
I think the
It's just my
mustache is our
nightmare.
It's coming in here. Well, you have to face your demons. That's how it goes.
I've been
Love it.
painting. Can you
This-
tell?
This is awesome. This is full commitment to the costume and the
You know
bit.
what? That is fantastic.
Okay, well, hey, let's bring in everyone in here now to talk all about, of course, the 5th episode of the series, the 5th episode of the first season, written by David Weddle and Bradley Thompson, who wrote many episodes of Star Trek, I think including, did they write In the Pale Moonlight? I got to look that up. But they wrote a lot of Deep Space Nine episodes in particular, and they wrote this one. This is their first one that they write. I think they write straight out for the series. And we're going to talk all about it. Spoilers if you've not watched Into the Abyss or For All Mankind up to this point. This episode takes place it starts in, it's pretty much all in 1971, in October 1971. At the very end, it jumps to 1973 as they establish the new thing. Oh, is that what we have to do, Adam? We got to send you
Apparently, we got to
invites?
send him a link for him to show
I
up.
thought we were getting spammed. I didn't realize it was Adam. We're not sending you an email link, you scammer.
All right, hold on.
What are you trying to do? Get our personal information?
You're no Nigerian prince.
To what email? He probably left his laptop somewhere again, and
Maybe
okay,
he's having a mustache malfunction.
he is.
Maybe.
Okay, I'm just he just asked me for the link by email. I'm replying to that email, Adam. So Sam's saying, "Hey, Adam." He's not even here yet, Sam.
Not even
Hi,
here.
Sam.
We're here. Well, you did say
Get
hi to
your
us.
shit together, Sam.
He did say hey to the guys, and
that's-
I'm
Wayne
just one
Cobb.
of the guys tonight.
You're just one of the guys. It's the first of the astronaut husbands.
Hey. Don't bring up, if you
Correct.
haven't been in combat. Don't bring that
Yeah.
up.
No.
Yeah.
Don't bring up combat. Yeah, so a lot going on in this episode. There's some stuff here between non-public. I just made a website non-public. That's great, Sam.
What's on the website then?
Secret website.
It was a secret website.
It's probably got all of his Gilligan Island fan fiction on it.
Of course. Well, Adam will be joining us in a moment, but in this episode, Ed and the crew change Apollo 15's landing site after lunar ice is detected, and that is kind of like most of this mission's centered around Apollo 15 and a few things happening back on Earth. We're all like this Wayne Cobb mustache, I think, is now iconic.
Jody, I can't laugh because it'll break my mustache. Don't
That's
do
what I was
funny
going
things.
for.
Well, Wayne was sad the whole episode, so
He was sad. Wait.
He's tortured. He's a lot of things. Wayne Cobb. Lenny Jacobson plays Wayne Cobb. He's pretty good in the role.
He does a great job.
Oh yeah, he's a lot of fun. I'm trying to figure out what else I know him from, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, but regardless, he's a fanfic of Gilligan and Mary Jane. That's of course that's the website he made was a Gilligan's Island website. Well, that's on brand for you, Sam. So that makes sense.
Sometimes my jokes can hurt.
Sometimes. Okay, well, just high level thoughts on the episode, Jody. What you think?
I thought it was a good episode. This was one of the only episodes, other than maybe the first episode, where at the end of the episode, I'm like, I need to get to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've purposely set it so I do not do that because yeah, and I also have a terrible memory, as you know, so I mix things up all the time. So with that, it's good not to go too far ahead. But,
you don't want to forget. Keep it fresh.
I got to keep it fresh, exactly, because
right.
I don't have a lot of fresh space in my head. So,
Well, speaking of fresh, it's Adam Woodward.
Hi.
Hi, Adam. We call him Adam Fresh.
Carry on.
well,
What?
now that you've interrupted the show,
Yeah. Jaunting in here, 7 minutes late. Adam time, we call it.
we had to replace you with this guy named Wayne Cobb.
Hello, Adam. I'm
He's
Wayne.
pretty cool. He's
Adam's
pretty
repping.
cool.
Adam's repping for the team. The Leafs being the team. Not even
Yeah.
Jeff is doing that. He's repping
not
the
even-
Jays.
It depends on how you define a team, I guess.
Yeah. What happened to the Devils, Jody?
Oh, they shouldn't have been in the playoffs to begin with.
Well, they were there. What's the?
They shouldn't have been.
They fell off a little bit like Wayne's mustache right now.
Wayne's mustache is having a hard time. You know what? When you smoke this much weed, these kind of things can happen.
It's
Well, like-
awesome because it literally looks like it's melting. Like,
Yeah.
It does look like it's melting. Oh my god, now it's really coming off.
Very cool.
Okay, it's me, guys.
Oh,
Oh!
Narduzzi.
Wait, what?
Whoa!
it's the Narduzzi.
I know.
It's
I'm
the
a master
Nard
of
Dog.
disguise, but I'm here now and I'm ready to discuss this episode.
Okay,
Great
well, I was-
Halloween costume, I think, though. Like, no one would get it unless people have seen the show, which is not many people.
well, not yet. We're trying to spread the word.
Yeah.
Kevin, how was this one
Spreading
for
the
you?
gospel.
it's good, just like the others. It's
As good
a
as everyone.
Installment, yeah, and good installment and a continuing story. I like, Ed and it's
Molly?
people finding common ground here in this episode.
Can I say that
I really
think
enjoy
this-
it.
I think this was the best episode so far.
Yeah.
I'm
And I don't
getting
think
there
it was
myself.
close.
And what did you like in particular, Jeff?
I just think the character development was the best in this episode of any episode. Like, and stakes. They had actual stakes in this episode, and that, like, the other 4 episodes, I just didn't get that. Like, it just was like, I was like, why do I care about these people? Who cares if this guy doesn't go on Apollo? Who cares if, like, there's a bunch of different things throughout the first few episodes.
Who cares if
You guys getting?
I'm hearing myself.
Yeah.
like there's
Is that you?
a bunch of different things throughout like
Gotta be Adam.
It's Adam.
Always Adam.
Always better.
Yeah.
So like that was just kind of, for me, this episode, I really liked you had 2 different, kind of like 3 different duo scenes kind of going on, where you had Cobb and Baldwin, you
Right.
had Wayne and Karen, and then you had what's the other, the Apollo 18 crew.
Well, you had
Danielle.
Gordo and Danielle and her
Gordo and
husband.
Danielle. Like,
Yeah.
so like you had like, I felt like really, like, it wasn't just a big group. You had great one-on-one dynamics,
Mhm.
and that's why I think the episode worked so well.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, Heather, you're up next. If you want to go, or Adam can go if he's fixed his audio issues. Either one of you, really.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Oh, we
Yep.
hear you.
First of all, apologize for lateness. I have it's a story, guys. I'll tell you later. Anyway, I like you guys like this episode a lot. I think it is one of the strongest episodes so far.
Did you have anything in particular that really stood out for you? Like,
I think first of all, the look of this episode, especially the moon landing, like in the the Lem, and just that whole dynamic between Baldwin and Cobb was great on the moon. I also like the dynamics with Mission Control during that scene, and that was a 3-day mission on the moon. And And I really do like how Baldwin stepped back, and they could have done it. And I'm interested to see what Heather has to say about this. But they could have done it where Baldwin's feeling, pushed aside or whatever. But he just let he played a true leader. He let his crew take the credit, and I think it was good on him for that. And it was bothering his wife during the whole thing.
Yeah, Karen's working through some demons for sure.
Oh yeah, and that was awesome. That between Cobb's wife and or husband, pardon me, and
Karen.
And Karen was great.
Yeah, it was very cool. Okay, Heather, you're up. Anything you want to say?
I love this episode. I watched it for the second time today, so it didn't feel as intense to me as when I first watched it, of course. But edge of my seat, she's in the crater. They've got it very exciting, and it looks very cool. And I do agree with you, Adam. I thought it was great that Baldwin didn't put up any macho fuss or act like a dick about it. Just whoever was best to get the job done got it done, and that was what the mission required, right? I loved it.
Yeah,
and she was the one that pushed them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and we'll get to it, but when they're in making the decision whether they're going to change the landing spot or not, and Molly's hesitant, and when she finally agrees, amazing. Loved it. We'll talk about it when we get there, but
it's coming right up. It's basically the opening of the episode, so we can jump right into it. Apologies, I did watch this episode as I was driving back from the trip. And I was in the car for but even on an iPhone, this episode really holds up. And then
were you driving in watching, Dave?
Jane was driving. I was.
That's cool. No, that's cool. Okay.
I just had to do.
You were like.
No, I'm not that skilled. I just had a doobie, and
you were like Wayne.
I was like Wayne. I was like, I got to channel the Wayne here.
Yeah,
it's herbal.
Just be and chill. It's an herbal plant. So
right.
Yeah.
Ask the liquor lobby why it's classified as a drug. And all
that's
that,
right.
We're gonna get into it. Okay, let's jump in into the abyss, if we will, and talk all about this episode. Now, we start off here with the Apollo 15 module still in orbit around the moon. They have been, I guess, 4 days. So it's 3 days to get to the moon. So they've been maybe orbiting for a day or so. And they're talking to Mission Control here. Molly's on TV as well, showing off her hair. Do you like what she's done with it?
No, I don't. That it was very clearly hairsprayed and teased. There was no movement to it at all. That was dumb. That was the only dumb thing in this episode for me.
Couldn't they just spend the money on one of those planes that dive?
Yeah, they do the deep dives. We really want to go for authentic weightless hair here.
Just get a Beyonce fan and blow the hair up. You're fine.
Yeah, I don't even know how they have.
That would look good either, though.
There must be some reference from the International Space Station of long hair in space, but it's hard to picture for me how this should look.
It's hard to do it without the movement, but it's giving young Frankenstein.
Yes, exactly.
Heat miser.
Yeah. All right. Well, Wayne thinks it looks good, even on a black and white TV back home.
I look cute in this shot, though.
Yes, Wayne, hey, always looks great.
How many things can he fit on that side table? He's got a candle. He's got a plate of things.
He's got his incense. He's got his smokes.
He's
got his paints.
That's a small table.
He's eclectic.
He's very eclectic. Yeah, he's not stiff. That's for sure. This guy. All right. So then, Molly on TV. Of course, there's Shane, who is Ed and Karen's son, talking to his mom about what's this obsession with Molly, and because Dad's her boss, and Karen's like, well, she's a novelty, first woman in space, but it's very, it's Karen. Karen's on a journey.
Karening.
Karen's got to be a Karen. And she's like, eat your cereal, Shane. And let's move on here. They're watching here.
Eat your sugar-laced cereal.
Yeah. We got Molly here, talking about looking at the world from space, how awesome it is, and kind of, she's also being read a letter here by Deke in Mission Control from a young fan who's inspired by her. How her brothers, she was allowed to play with the space modules, Apollo 15, but then she had named it after one thing, the Cobb, I guess the module, the Cobb, and the Lem, the Molly itself. So you can tell even Molly Cobb, even though she's a tough one, thicker skin, she chokes up a little bit here. You're hearing the letter.
Wouldn't be touched by that? That was so lovely.
Yeah, Jody would be like, "Whatevs, I don't care."
Like, whatever, kid.
Yeah.
If you were Molly, though,
I wouldn't be Molly, but
Well,
anyway.
Molly even said like last episode, like I'm not that. I'm not a role model.
I don't want to be a role model.
Yeah. So it's starting to get to her. I think she's starting to buy into that.
Yeah.
No idea.
Right. And then her crew cheering her on, and then they come up with this ice survey that, as they've been orbiting the moon, I guess they've gone by the South Pole, and they figure out that there seems to be a lot of ice there in the deep dark craters. This kind of lines up with some of the scientific data that had been out in 2019 in our world, but as of our current real world thing, they haven't been able to quite confirm this in quite this way because no one's gone there. We have to send, I think, people there, maybe like they do in this episode, but we'll talk more about that. Anyway, so there's this idea of like, well, they had a certain landing spot, but it was so far away from where this ice has been deposited at the South Pole that like changing the landing spot seems like a really bad idea, because they train to land on a specific place on the moon over and over again. This would be quite the audible on the line of scrimmage to change.
This would never happen.
Yeah, that is so far fetched about this episode. Like it's just insane.
Well, what if Nixon wanted a base though, guys? That's
I think that's the correct answer, Dave. Is like, this is now a different game for NASA. First of all, they're fighting for supremacy on the moon. Just like they're finding water. This is a different storyline now.
They even acknowledge that in this episode that they've changed. NASA's changed, and they would have never gone for something like this before. They say it in the episode.
Right, because of the testimony Ed gave about Apollo 10, about this culture of caution within NASA, which would be less so here. And Ed wants to change the landing spot, and so does this other guy. I can't remember his name. He's the guy.
Fred's in control room.
The third member of Apollo.
The guy that nobody ever remembers. The guy that stays.
We're
in the
just
show.
never going to remember
that guy.
With an S, whatever his name is.
He's a footnote. Anyway, so he and Ed want to do it, but Molly is more opposed. Anyway, so then Thomas Paine calls in Deke and the other guy,
Gene Kranz.
Yes, and they're talking in the observation lounge, and basically like because NASA, like the safe thing would be like, okay, we're gonna wait for Apollo 16 to go there, but Thomas Paine says no, go. Like, we can't let the Soviets beat us to this spot. If
this guy's great. He doesn't care how they do it. He just get it done.
Get it done for America.
And he says this a lot. I don't care how you do it. Just get it done.
Right.
I don't care that we're going to potentially kill all these people.
Yeah, how would it look had the first woman on the moon? You send her on a mission that is borderline insane. Like literally, they're like, yeah, it's 3 times deeper than the Grand Canyon. Let's send her down there with a rope and a wheel.
She chose to do that. That was not in the scope.
True, but they also encouraged it once they were like, oh, let's go for it, and then they were like, no, you can't do that, and then this guy comes in who's not a scientist, not an astronaut, doesn't understand how any of this works, just Nixon wants it, and then they kind of go, all right, yeah, let's go do it. I think they would have planned for many.
But it's Cold War, Jeff. It's plausible, right?
Yes, it's plausible. I get the idea, but I just think how would it have looked had she died in that crater?
Oh, very bad. But but I think the idea here is that the competition with the Soviets is enough to kind of put all that aside and say, we can't be last place all the time. Like the U.S. constantly is in this catching up mentality.
And you notice also here is like, if you remember, I don't know if it was last week or the week, so I missed last week's, but I watched it, and they were, when Deke basically gave these girls or the women their astronaut pins.
Yeah.
He was told, if this doesn't work, it's on you.
Oh yeah, Nixon at the very end of that episode's like, it's your ass if this goes
he
down.
said it. Thomas Paine said it. So Deke's also thinking, I got to do something here.
Right, and so Thomas Paine puts the pressure on here, and Deke says, ultimately, if the crew doesn't want to do it, we're not going to force them. But it's so we're gonna hand it back to them. They call up to the ship and say, wait, we've rethought this, and Molly's like The hell no, like, you know, like for the reasons Jeff's bringing up, like the first woman in space, American woman more specifically, is going and to be the first woman on the moon is going to crash land and die on the moon potentially here in sort of but this mission's considered a joke. We also hear that in the letter. Everyone's saying, well, you'll never find water on the moon, and it's, you know, this is silly and this is a publicity stunt and etc. So there's a lot of pressure here on Molly and the rest of the crew to do something, and all of that, really.
I understood landing closer to the ice than the original landing site. I kind of got that part. It's like once they got there and you see the scope of how deep that crater is,
Right.
and they don't have any plan other than let's just take apart the rover, like
Right.
and attach
And
a
walk
rope
back.
to a wheel
And walk
yeah.
back.
You have to walk 3 kilometers
Yeah, in a
Right.
spacesuit.
in a spacesuit. I guess you can hop for 3
you know,
kilometers back, but
It's just super risky. Like it's
Well,
like, you know,
there's also oxygen flow problems. You're also exerting more energy. Like there's
right.
there's a whole slew of things like you have to take into effect here. And on top of that, the thing that blew me away was the fact that they're using electrical cabling, which has a slight shield on it. But like it rubbing against the side of that cliff,
Yeah.
there's no way that thing ain't fraying. Like it's
Yeah, they wanted to feel risky, but I suspect you're right about that, Jody, because I know that moon dust is very corrosive, and it potentially could have had the issues here. But hey, it's a TV show too, and there's a level of suspending
in this world, ropes don't break.
And
Nope.
and you know what? Heather was on the side of her, the edge of her seat. She said it.
Yeah,
Who's this Heather you speak of? I only know
Wayne.
Oh,
There
sorry,
is-
Wayne Cobb.
No, she's cool. She's cool.
Anyway, so
I noticed on the guy who's the third guy on the mission, Sedgwick. I saw his name on his shirt.
Tank
Yeah, Cedric.
from U-571. He never
Nailed it.
he barely talks in the episode.
yeah, well, he's here.
Well,
he
he got
barely talks in
nothing
this
to do.
episode, yeah.
He's floating around on the ship.
Right, and then he at one point he's like, "Do you want to trade jobs, Cobb? I'll go down with Ed, and you stay up here." And she's like, "Screw you," or I think Ed actually tells him to screw off. Anyway, so Molly, after some thought, she's like, "Hell yeah, we're gonna do it." And Ed's so pumped. He's like, "Yeah, come on, Cobb, we're doing this. We're going down. We're gonna potentially crash land into a crater and die."
I like he says to her here though, I can't do this if you're not on board. Like he leaves
Right.
it up to her, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think it had to be unanimous for the whole crew, especially these two going down.
But also, that's like, to me, that's it. I don't think that was his intention. But if somebody said to me, "I can't do this unless you're on board," it means if we don't do this, it's your fault.
Yeah. Well, she's putting up
I
a
don't
lot
look
of
at it.
pressure
But
here.
I didn't read this scene as that at all. As what the hesitation, and then she goes, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." I loved it.
Yeah,
It was
right.
so fun.
So she's willing to do it, and so Ed and her are going, and that is our teaser for the episode, Into the Abyss. As I've mentioned, written by Weddle and Bradley Thompson, David Weddle and Bradley Thompson, who wrote a lot of episodes of Deep Space Nine, as I mentioned, like Rules of Engagement, One Little Ship, Inquisition. We missed somebody?
Nice.
Oh, Adam's back. And a bunch of episodes of Battlestar Galactica as well.
Battle what?
You know.
The best show
I
ever.
don't know. Best show ever. Get out of here.
Battle
Product.
Cat, I think he said.
Battle
also
Cat.
They also run a couple episodes of Deep Space Nine I don't think are that good. Like, what's this called? Prodigal Daughter. Like, Molly home. That's one of those.
Oh, God.
No, Prodigal Daughter is when Ezri Dax goes home.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, that's right.
That is a good
Okay.
episode.
That's better than the other one.
Yes, it is.
They also Time's Orphan is the one with Molly,
Yeah.
and they did write that. So, so
Okay.
I do like that episode though.
I back to
Anyway,
hate on.
It's not
anyway,
great, but
not
I
there.
like bad hate it.
And we are heading into the first of 2 episodes directed by Sergio Mimica Gazan. So because they have back-to-back directors. After the title cards, we come into the episode as we catch up at the Baldwin house. Karen is of course hosting a party with all the families of the astronauts here and the kids and everything else. Then Wayne shows up. Our boy Wayne. He's a little late. They haven't landed on the moon yet, so he's a lot of time. He brings her a bottle of mezcal, which she doesn't know what that is, which is like I guess it wasn't as
Tequila.
common to be. Yeah, tequila with the worm in it, and everything else. It's from Oaxaca. How different Karen and Wayne are as people is really kind of accentuated in this
But
episode.
near the end of the episode, we realize they're not that different.
They're not that different, but just the way they present themselves, I suppose, more so. And the confusion there. Then we come back to the module here as we see the Apollo 15 lander come off of its module. I can't remember what the name of it is right now, but
It's the LEM.
Yeah, the LEM, yeah. As they're descending from the orbital, and they're all getting quite nervous. Everyone's watching this as they're heading down to this crater, bigger than the Grand Canyon, we're told. Quite deep, and this would be so scary as you're flying this tinfoil thing with like little peg legs on it down here.
That's not the scary part.
What's the scariest part?
The scary part is hitting something, Dave.
Well, hitting like on top of a mountain or like a ridge here, like
Or falling into the bottomless crater.
into the abyss, if you will.
Yes.
But don't worry about it. We got
I was
Baldwin
hoping
and Cobb.
she would fall in, and then eventually she would talk to like a weird alien species using a keypad while breathing water. That's what I was going for. But then I found out this wasn't the abyss.
Well, that's how it goes.
Mm.
I love the visuals of the moon in this show. We talked about this
Good
before.
shot.
It
good.
always looks really convincing to me when I'm watching this in special effects. Anyway, so they
It
go
does. It really looks real. I think so too.
Ed talks about this is as close I got to the moon on 10, and Molly's like, "Stick with me, kid. I'll get you there." It's some good stuff here, some good dialogue between them, and a lot of tension as we know that this feels dangerous as hell considering.
Oh, Nedry still works there. I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Yeah. As Ed has got control here, and it's a cool sequence as they land this thing at the edge of an abyss, if you will, a crater. Feels pretty stressful.
And during all this, they're talking about how they don't really have enough fuel, so they gotta like be really sparse of it.
Right, yeah, because they're deviating from the plan. And
Well, they've overshot where they were going to be, so now they've used more fuel, right? So
right. But they have just enough. Hopefully, those fun engineers, they're very clever. They can figure things out as they go here, which I think they do. By the end of the episode, they managed to land this thing without much problem. Ultimately,
well, at least all 4 legs are on the ground. That's pretty good.
yeah, it was good move there, Ed.
Better than the last one.
Yeah, it was
And-
nice that it was a good landing, that they didn't revisit the bad landing.
Yeah, of Apollo 11. Yeah. Okay, so they're on, and then Molly talks about I never wanted a cigarette so bad, but I don't think you're going to be able to do it up there. That's the thing with these guys; they smoke so much, right? When they're on Earth, and when they go to space, they got to go cold turkey for like a week.
Did you guys catch the guy dumping all the ashtrays
Yes.
That was awesome.
With mission
into the
control.
bucket?
Yeah.
He's kind of fucking pale, and he's sitting there dumping them all. Reminds me of the bowling league days.
Exactly. He gets this guy in mission control with the smoke in his mouth.
Speaking of smoking,
Yeah. All having a good time here. The family's all relieved. Wayne's relieved. All going well. And then we have this other scene here with Danielle and her husband. His name is I can't remember. Clayton, who's been in Vietnam. In a battalion
Just
there.
came back, saw some shit.
He saw some tough things, but they're overjoyed to be reunited here. Clayton and Danielle, who have not seen each other for a while. And on the way out here, wait, no, is this what? Oh, did I not get the picture of it? I thought I did. Sorry, guys. Where he throws the bars at the guy on the way out, from his uniform. Not
He threw out the campaign bars, which are the ones for Vietnam.
right. Yeah, it was not
Yeah.
not totally in on the mission of the war. And not happy with what.
Most of the soldiers, once they got there, realized what was going on. So yeah,
Right. There's this kind of conversation here between Danielle and Clayton where he's like, what they got you doing at NASA? She's like, not much. I'm just a token, black girl going to PR events. And, she's kind of like, pulling his leg here until she admits, actually, I've been assigned to Apollo 18, and I'm going on up. And, then they have a big celebration here in the car. And it's good. Oh, no. I guess they had this conversation.
This is
I
when
guess,
it happened.
I guess this conversation must happen. Like it feels like they're driving on the highway
Well,
there.
Yeah,
Still
I
on
thought
they're
it
still
happened
on the
after
base,
too.
but they're going through
Yeah.
the residential area of the base.
Okay. All right. So they get to the end here, and this is where Clayton throws the ribbons. He tears them off his uniform.
What was the reason for this?
Because he didn't agree with the campaign.
He didn't
Disgust
the
with
war.
the
He was not happy to have served the U.S. military in that
Okay,
war.
but was he resigning?
Well, he was already discharged, I think. And
He
this
was discharged at this
oh,
point.
so
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's
But
kind of
he threw away just the Vietnam campaign ribbons that he has.
But he still went to a bar with his uniform on.
yes.
Mhm.
He didn't have time to change.
Right.
It was, I guess, because I guess Danielle was already headed to this meeting here with Gordo, so she was, like, hey, we're gonna go, meet him and everything else. So
I thought he was mad at that guy.
I don't think he knows that guy.
No.
No, yeah, that's what I thought at first. And
No,
then,
he was just kind of like, "Fuck off!"
It was just like him giving the middle finger on the way out,
right,
basically.
I got that once he had the conversation with Gordo, and like I was like, yeah, Vietnam was not, everyone already knew.
Well, this is 1971 too, right? And the ceasefire. It's again, the timeline is diverting with the war too, right? And the war's kind of ending earlier. So I don't know. But Clayton's got his positions, and then you got Karen here serving corn. She has this interaction here with Tracy, who didn't make her own chicken. She got a friend to make some chicken instead.
Yeah, and Karen was like, "Get out of here with your store-bought chicken, you negligent mother.
Yeah.
You can't even cook for a potluck."
I'm actually starting to hate Karen like I hate Gordo. Because
Well-
she's kind of a bitch through this whole episode.
She's coming
Like,
around.
At
I think
everybody.
Karen's trying to deal with her own shit and the pressures of being an obedient.
Heather, we
Right.
all got our own shit, but none of us yell at other people for cooking chicken differently.
I don't know.
I
About
wouldn't
that,
say
Jody.
none of us.
The majority of us.
asked
Listen,
me-
we gather weekly to yell at each other about television shows. So, like,
Right. Could be. Anyway, and she, because the other thing Tracy has in this conversation, she says, "Oh, I can't believe I'm going to go up in there and be an astronaut," and Karen's just like, "Yeah, I can't believe it either. Weird,
Yeah,
but
Karen is-
not supportive for her friend."
Karen
Tracy.
is essentially the Rachel Zegler of this enterprise here. If you know
Yeah.
who that is.
Yeah, you can see like Tracy feeling hurt and betrayed by this attitude from Karen. And I'm not sure she really knows how to understand it, right? But this connection between in their lives and their social circles, they seem to live on the same street, right? Too. It seems to like they're not just like all in the program together.
Yeah, and she's like, "So, when do you guys get married?"
Yeah. Oh, and then we have Ellen here talking to, I guess this is Mrs. Sedgwick, the wife of the third astronaut on Apollo 15.
Yeah,
and-
she's about as important as he is in the show.
Yeah, not too important. But yeah, Ellen's being because they're saying, "What about you?" And is it Larry? Is that the other guy?
yeah.
Right. What about you and Larry? When you getting married, it's love at first sight. And I told my guy Sedgwick that he didn't want to get married, but I knew it was right for him. Like
I know she said I dragged him down the aisle, but I
Something-
think he was secretly grateful.
Men don't know what they want.
They know what they want, right? And,
I know what men want.
Yeah. And Ellen has.
Meanwhile, Ellen's like, "Yes, I can't wait to participate in this compulsory heterosexuality. Thanks for asking."
Right, but she's going along with this narrative as her public persona, right?
She's also being careful not to wear flannel.
Mhm,
Right.
That's right.
That might be a
One set of
giveaway.
signals.
Yeah, no signals like
True.
that, right?
Yeah.
Bare arms. That shows. That's a good start.
Exactly. That's kind of it for Ellen in the episode. She just gets this kind of one conversation here, and then we
So
catch up
guys-
here with
I swear my father had that shirt.
that.
Oh,
that
my
Wayne's
dad
got on.
definitely had it too. 100%.
Every guy in the '70s had that shirt.
I want that shirt now.
I
Dad
love
had
the
that.
wide lapels that were so fashionable then. Wayne is always wearing very wide lapel
Yeah,
shirts.
Did Wayne just
Ooh,
go
the
to the makeup
moon.
chair and he's like, "Give me the David Crosby," give me-
He literally is the Crosby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "Can I be just a Crosby like guy?" And they're like, "Sure." That's totally how we'll design you. So this whole conversation out here on the back porch of the Baldwin house is between Wayne and Karen, talking about how worried Wayne is about Molly dying, and like he has this dream about how she died last night. I like he asked, "Do you dream, Karen?" She's like, "No, I don't dream anymore. Maybe when I was a kid, but no longer." We find out this is a lie later on in the episode, but he's talking about how he had this vision about him being on the moon and watching Molly be dead and dying
and decapitated.
And then eventually Karen blows up at him and says, "We don't talk about these things, Wayne. These are not talked about. These are,
I don't dream." And she says,
"I don't dream." There's no like Karen has put up a lot of emotional barriers around herself, and this goes all the way back to when Ed was in Korea fighting over there, and her always having to kind of wait and hope that he doesn't die.
Well, you would really have to compartmentalize it like that in order to carry on with your life and taking care of your household and your children and all of those things, and not worrying about the fact that your husband's wrapped in tinfoil in outer space.
Exactly. And this thing that Wayne's like, "You're the only other person who would understand this. Like one of the only people, like as a spouse of an astronaut. But their differences and the way they're dealing with trauma is very different. And so there's kind of like this whole disconnect where Karen just walks out on Wayne in this conversation and is not ready to talk about these things. But that will progress as we go through the episode. But this initial conversation does not go great. Then we head back to the moon here, where Molly is posing for photos, with the American flag as they've planted their mark here. Sending pictures back. This eventually transitions into, "Hey, Molly, the president wants to talk to you. Nixon, get him on the line." "Holy shit," she says, and they're like, "You just said that on live television. You can't do that." But comes in here. "Hello, can you do your Nixon, Jeff?"
Yeah.
"Hello, Molly Cobb. What do you got up there on the moon? Do you have any bowling alleys?"
And she likes to throw back at her. "Well, you get some ice up there."
Yeah.
And
like a stiff drink.
"Yeah, I know you like a stiff drink, Mr. President, so I'll make you a highball with some ice or something."
And then everyone is scandalized by that, which I thought was really fun.
As they're all drinking and smoking.
Yeah, and Margot's like, "Oh no."
But
she's more embarrassed by that.
Nedry loves it.
Nedry loves it. Most Thomas Paine does not love it.
No, he does not.
Yeah. But
I'm a Quaker. I believe, I'm a Quakerist.
Yeah, I don't believe in this stuff. Yeah. But I guess so it's kind of a fun moment here. They celebrate Molly back in the Baldwin house, specifically Tracy, Ellen, and Wayne. But not Karen. She's not. She's more detached. And then now it's time for the astronauts to sleep. So we find out that Karen goes to sleep when Ed goes to sleep, and she'll be awake when Ed is awake. So she kicks Wayne out and the rest of them.
This is giving like woman on the verge of a nervous breakdown tension energy here when she's like, "Okay, don't mean to give you the bum's rush, but everybody get out. Here's an ashtray, Wayne. Bye."
She's smoking some of that weed.
I love though that he's the one to go, "Already? What? It's only 6 o'clock."
It's 6 o'clock.
Well, that's how it goes.
Got high.
Yeah.
So we're not cracking into that mezcal tonight, hey, Karen?
No, I guess not.
You
Anyways,
know that Wayne had to drive a distance to get here. He's not part of this community.
No, he doesn't live here in suburbia, I don't think. Anyway, so he's just. What does he say to her on the way out? I can't quite.
He just tries to talk to her, and she's just like, "Bye,
Wayne." And,
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and then she's talking to Tracy here. She's like, "He smells," and then Tracy's like, "Well, it's probably because he had some weed before." And Karen is freaked out, and this is like very plausible.
Like, "Whoa, what? Weed?"
Yeah. Karen is.
Can I say something that maybe Heather can correct me? But I feel like Tracy is not done up age like era appropriate. I feel like looks like very much like a modern girl. Like I just don't buy the 70s look
that she was wearing this in the 70s.
Yeah.
No, a lot of the astronauts and wives are dressed more 50s than 70s to me, which are I think speak, or maybe 60s, because I think that still speaks to that maybe they haven't quite reached the women's lib movement yet. They're still doing like the little wife at home kind of thing. But I do agree that Tracy looks like she just walked out of garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
it is only 1971, so I mean, they haven't caught up yet.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't know
Right.
yet.
Hair too, like her hair looks very like not 70s to me. Like it's just me, but like so a lot of the other girls, I think the set direction is very good, and I actually really like the way.
I think one thing, because I think people actually did really abuse alcohol and cigarettes so hard back in those days, and now when you have people from today who largely probably don't drink and smoke, at least not on that level like they did then, they look so much more, I don't know, youthful and fresh and less like damaged from smoke damage and alcohol poisoning and things like that. And so, yeah, sometimes I'm like,
The lead in the gasoline.
the lead in the gasoline, all the pollution, everything. Like, I find like when you look at actual people from that era, and like when you put like really like attractive modern actresses or actors in these roles, you don't look like you're actually from that time. It's hard to get anyone because they only look like that time in that time, weirdly.
There's
Well,
also
what
not
movie
enough
did it
leather
great
faces going on.
was Goodfellas, when they were showing all the wives
Yes.
of the gangsters. Yeah.
Right.
My
Then-
all-time favorite.
yes.
But you know the scene I'm talking about now. Then
Yeah.
when they're all around
Absolutely.
the table and they just look tired and they try
Yeah.
to cover it up with everything and it's not working.
Oh yeah.
And Karen Hill says they wore dumpy clothes and they had bad skin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
long fingernails.
A lot of double knits. She says. Okay, well then we go back to mission control here. Yeah, they're cleaning out the
Here
cigarettes.
comes the cigarette cleanup.
Right. Yes, we're going there. Day 2 on the moon for Apollo 15, and they're talking about them heading out to the edge of the crater here in their rover. This was some fun shots, I thought, of the visuals. Then we come over. Nothing really happens. They're just heading to the crater. Then on the outpost, Clayton and Danielle show up here to meet with Gordo, who has been named the commander of Apollo 18. So I guess you fail upwards in NASA.
I find here is where you really what can you go back to that screenshot? This to me is where you really start to see like the cracks in Gordo's facade, and you notice Clayton noticing it too, that Gordo immediately drinks his entire first glass of champagne while everybody else is just sipping, and this smile for me.
Howdy doody.
Yeah.
It's forced.
Yeah.
Forced. Yeah, it's hard to really know what's going on inside Gordo at times. But I think the actor plays him well.
He really
Jamie
does.
Doman. Anyway, so Danielle's happy. She's happy to be serving here under Gordo and Apollo 18. And they get some champagne here, and then Gordo just downs it right away, as Heather mentioned. But they're meant here to be celebrating, right? And so they kind of it gets off to a fairly pleasant beginning here with the three of them. But we'll come back to them. Then Karen, I guess, didn't go to bed. She decides to come over here to talk to Wayne, to his apartment. She found where he lives. He's got his gray sweater on with the paint on it. And Karen's upset about the marijuana, the doobie. So she's here to get to
He's drawing nudes.
And then we find out, he likes to draw nude figures and
one
very
of
scandalous.
them's a man. Karen can't even handle that.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Oh my God.
Yeah,
This is so departed from her world, though.
Yes.
That's right.
Some of the literature here, we got the American Literary Anthology, Moby Dick.
I just noticed under the volcano, he refers to that later, and I just noticed it's in the books. I only picked up Moby Dick and the Ken Casey book because Ken Casey famously was involved with the acid tests and very much the free love drug culture of that time, right?
Yeah, we see. Yeah, well, he mentions the under the volcano. Is that the one? He's like, it's about an alcoholic. And all this.
Yeah.
And Karen's like, what are you talking about? What is this? Who is
He's
this?
like, anyway, you should read it.
Yeah.
Moby Dick, that's famously referenced in Star Trek quite a bit.
Right.
That's
This lie
right.
no further. Ahab's got to go get his whale. A Jefferson airplane poster scene here, along with
Which
Santana.
you may have drawn, right?
I guess Wayne is meant to have drawn this or designed this, I think.
Yeah.
I love these concert posters from this era.
Mhm.
Yeah, pretty cool. And a Santana cover, who I guess at this time, Santana's not famous. They're more of a Houston band at this point still, and so they're about to break out. So connecting these things here, we see even that Karen finds Wayne's paintbrush area to be dysfunctional and chaotic, and she has to organize it for him.
Straighten
It was
it
a
and
nice
give it a little
touch.
tap. Yeah.
Right, and then she sees the doobie, if you will. Yeah, light her up, and
Oh
Now
no,
remember-
Karen.
This is 70s weed, so like he smoked half a joint, so literally that wouldn't even hit anybody nowadays.
he has no tolerance, So,
Yeah.
and then as she's looking at that, then she looks over and she sees the dream that he had about the nightmare about Molly dying on the moon. She sees like a dead Molly here in her spacesuit, and we see a dead Ed as well. And this is depicted here over in the crater. Just what she wanted to see.
He focuses more on the dead Ed than.
Well, like Molly's in the foreground at least,
Right.
I didn't even realize. I've seen this episode twice. I didn't even realize both astronauts were in it. I thought it was just one, and it was Molly. I didn't even notice the other one.
It should have been like
that's bleak. Ooh.
But Cedric is like in the background giving like I'm okay. I'm gonna make it.
He should have been. That's what he should have said to her when he came out. He should have been like, "Don't worry, that's Cedric."
That's it. He somehow went down instead of Ed.
Ed's alive. It's fine.
Anyway, so then Karen's like, "What is this?" She goes on a tirade about the marijuana and what if you could end Molly's career and everything else, and he just loses it right away on her. He's just like, "You suck," and I don't need this. You judging me and causing all this problems and whatever, and he just blows up at her and.
Start harshing my buzz, Karen.
Yeah,
I don't think like in reality, a woman like her at that time would have been as understanding.
Probably
You
not.
know what I mean? Like she just would have been like, "No, screw you! Like you're ruining my husband's opportunity here, or you could,
Right. Well, like that's that protective thing that you learned from Marge too, right? And we got to protect the program. You got to be willing to say it. There's a certain PR level to this. Got to keep up appearances and just being. I get the. Karen seems like a conservative woman of her time. Even for her time, and she's. I don't know. I definitely I could see our grandmother being like this. Like it's but not as understanding, right? Like
I was just surprised that she was that she came around. I was like, because I was like, yeah, more on Wayne's side. Like I'm more get his perspective, and then maybe it's because like he says the thing like where she, he's like she can die up there, like and so could Ed, and I think like that resonated with her because she.
What is he yells at her? You can't just use positivity to get rid of negative emotions. Like you can't. Like he doesn't like this. The way she copes. Her coping style is not his style. He just would rather talk about it.
Don't tell the hippies.
No, we're telling them. Anyway, so we'll come back to that. But then back on the moon, Ed and Molly have arrived at the edge of the crater. They're trying to look at things, and then I guess I didn't get much of that scene. Then we catch up here more with Gordo and the pools as they're having shots now. They've transitioned from because that's what you do. You have champagne and then you transition to whiskey or tequila, I guess, in this case. And they're going hard.
Do that?
No, and then I can't remember how this conversation
here, and it basically gets down to the point where he's feeling a little bit inadequate. He hasn't fought in Korea. He was too young. He's too old for Vietnam. He couldn't go anyway because he was in the space.
Well, he was in the space program, and Clayton kind of throws some shade at him about that. He's like, I bet, like they saved your white ass from Vietnam and sent you into the space program.
He threw the gauntlet down right there. That was
there. That was the beginning of the real conflict, I think here.
Yes.
So eventually, because Gordo says, well, like, tell me about what's it like being in combat. And as Clayton does open up about that, basically, I don't know. I think Gordo gets his back up about the earlier comment, and he talks about like my friends, they fought over there. They're helicopter pilots, and Clayton's like, yeah, but I'm in like the mud with everybody else dying, and he talks about that thrill you get from when you become part of the platoon, you kill the enemy, and what that's like, and
Well, you're not a person. You're not
Yeah.
a person. You're part of the platoon. Yeah.
He also said it's different when you shoot someone in the head compared to bombing them with napalm. Like it's it's a different thing, right? Like,
Yeah, and this conversation does not go great for either side. I would say, I
well,
think
they're talking about some
I
dark stuff.
Well,
Clayton may have said the first pointed comment, but Gordo asked him how combat was the literal day after he was discharged from the army. Or like,
Hey, Gordo should be in space right now, and nobody cares.
not even Tracy. So,
hashtag save Gordo.
yeah, Sam, poor Gordo.
Feelings are hurt.
Yeah, he's got it rough. Anyway,
So
so
yeah, this does not go well.
goes well, and then I think it's Clayton's like, you want to go? I'll kick your teeth in, right?
well,
And-
no. Gordo threw another insult when he talked about melee, and that was the event where the American soldiers killed the villagers and the kids and all that stuff, and that was that crossed.
Gordo kind of was calling him a murderer, and
Basically called him a baby killer. Like,
Yeah. yeah, and then so Clayton wants to fight for that, and Gordo's like, let's go, and then Danielle breaks it up here. Ultimately, she orders Clayton out.
But Gordo's an adulterer, so didn't he do a lot of baby killing too? Technically.
Well, maybe who's to say? We don't have the records, but anyway.
You know what? The look on Heather's face was enough for that comment. I'm happy.
All right. Danielle's upset with Gordo, and rightfully so here, because this, I think Gordo should have been more understanding and certainly not said those things. And Danielle said, you just threw it in his face. The day gets back, and he's dealing with his own trauma and everything else. And anyway, not a great start here for Apollo 18 as they're getting ready for their mission up. Gordo left despondent.
Maybe don't
I love
meet
when-
at the bar and drink shots of tequila
Yeah.
for
it's the
your
best
work
place for a
meeting.
bar fight.
Right. Not a great way. Yeah. And it's kind of pointing to this thing that Gordo should not be commanding this mission. Like Gordo is not in a good place psychologically, I would say.
100%. And Clayton and Danielle, that's the first thing they say in this scene. Clayton says, what kind of mission commander sets meetings in a bar? And she said, this one does.
Right.
Right? Hashtag poor Gordo.
Poor Gordo. Okay, back to Karen and Wayne. Sorry. Karen and
Now,
Wayne.
do we think that Karen smoked the jazz cabbage with
Yeah, of course.
Wayne?
The devil's lettuce.
I
Yeah,
thought
she
she was
did,
gonna
right?
steal
The
that one
left-handed
that was-
cigarette.
I thought she was going to steal the one that was on the just sitting there ready to go,
Right.
but no,
No.
she wouldn't do that.
I don't think she did.
She eventually, well, I think maybe that's why she opens up. Is maybe she relaxed, or maybe she got the secondhand inhalation, perhaps, and maybe that
Perhaps.
was enough.
Or maybe she just drank herself stupid.
She tells the story here of though that she does dream nightmares. In fact, ever since Ed was in Korea, would be gone, and she talked. What was the dream about a panther eating his entrails, his guts, and Ed looking up to her helpless like a baby.
Hashtag poor Ed.
Poor Ed, he's getting eaten by a cougar or a jaguar.
Panther.
Sorry.
There's a
And
lot of graphic dialogue in this episode.
yeah.
It really is.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty strong. Anyway, then we come back. Some time goes by, and then we're back in the Baldwin house, and there's a scene here where Ed got to talk to his kid from space. He's like, I wrote your name in the sand. It's gonna be there for millions of years.
Which he didn't.
Did he? He didn't actually do this. He just lied.
No,
he did
said
this.
he didn't. He even said he didn't do it.
Well, he said it
No,
was
he didn't say
BS.
that, Jody. He said he's not the epic. He can be a grand gesture father, but he can't be the guy who teaches his kid to ride a bike.
Right.
Oh,
I think
okay.
he
Maybe
did
I
write
misunderstood
that thing in the sand, but his name in the sand, but he didn't. He's saying that like because I think Molly then compliments him here,
Yeah.
up in the shuttle and said that was a nice thing you did for your kid, and he's like, no, I'm a bad father. I'm not good at the dad thing. And she goes, what's the dad thing? And she talks about the fact she never had kids, too much work, etc.
You know what I liked about this scene the most, Dave? is that it was written in a way where the two people don't have any sort of love interest involved. I liked that because
a man and a woman in hammocks.
In every fucking movie that we get nowadays, it's like if there's a woman and a man and they're by themselves, all of a sudden there's some sort of attraction and they have to.
It's the Harry met Sally argument, I guess. But they talk here about how she calls him a selfish prick because he talks about that time when he was trying to teach Shane to ride the bike and he was just getting angry with him. And then Deke shows up and, that gave him an excuse to walk away from the whole situation. And so Ed's very self-aware of his shortcomings there, but doesn't do anything to fix it either.
Powerless to fix them.
Yeah. Which almost makes it worse, right? If he was kind of ignorant to it all, it would be more forgivable, but he's definitely not.
Well, at least he's somewhat tortured by it.
He is, yeah. He's still a real person. He does it like a human being that's got faults and strengths, but in this area is not good. He's not good with his relationship and with his wife either. Like there's problems there too. And Molly says, you're a selfish prick, but so am I. Like, I knew Wayne was freaked the hell out, scared out of his mind to see me go into space here. And I went anyway. I pretended like, no, he's got this because I want it for me. She talks about all these astronauts are kind of selfish megalomaniacs to a degree.
Well, I think you kind of have to be to strap yourself to a huge fucking rocket and get thrown into space.
She makes this other comparison. She talks about Columbus and Magellan and, that they were the great pioneers and they were probably egotistical, maniacal assholes too. And
well, that's proven.
That's pretty accurate.
I don't know much about, I know about Columbus. I don't know much about Magellan specifically, but if anyone, does anyone know the history?
He was the first guy to go all the way around the world, which is, and he was the first one to go around the Cape of Good
Hope.
The Argentina one, whatever. Cape of Good Hope.
Horn.
Yeah.
Is it Horn or is I forget which one it is, but
and she says, well, pricks like us, we keep the human race moving along. We're the ones who usher in progress. I don't know. That argument was kind of interesting. I thought like that.
It's completely true though.
You know what's really cool about this episode, though, is that Molly's always been so guarded, and they're never going to put us into space, and they're going to pull back at the last minute. But she's finally here, and I feel like she's now enjoying.
She's soaking it in. She's loving
it. She's relaxed. She's smiling.
She did it, right? She made it to the moon, right? And she's here, and she's living the dream,
and
right?
She stepped on the moon. She's done.
But she's also kind of reflecting on the sacrifices and choices that got her here, which weren't all positive either. I think too, which I think is, I like that kind of full picture of it all, right? It's not just the glory; it's kind of also the there's downsides to this life,
which is what makes the show compelling.
Tries to be honest about those things as much as it can. Anyway, then we head back to the Baldwin house for the third day, the last day on the moon for Apollo 15. We see a press conference here with Thomas Paine where they're like, we don't think you're going to find ice. You guys suck. The press, I'm paraphrasing, but
that was basically it.
Yeah. The American public's not too thrilled. Third day of this and nothing's happened.
But realistically, in 3 days, it might take weeks to find it. So 3 days isn't really that much.
Right. But there's this public pressure and they don't know what to do. And so Ed and Molly head out to the crater and they're like, well, yeah, we can get down there, but how the hell are we going to get back up?
This is a great shot.
This shot is fantastic. Yeah. So cool.
Also terrifying.
Yes.
They have no idea really how deep this is. Not quite.
Well, they said it's 3 times deeper than the Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they think I
think they know from scans, don't they? Or from.
Oh yeah, They have infrared technology at this point. They have the ability to. They can scan down it.
They can't quite see. They know they think there's ice down there, but they need to prove there's ice down there and how much of it, right? So they ultimately decide, hey, well, how are we going to get down there? And she's like, isn't a winch just because he talks about Ed wants his truck. And he's like, isn't a winch just a cable on an axle? Effectively, can't we just turn the rover's wheel into an axle if we run the cable along it? I do like in the show they often will have these problems and they come up with like true engineering
Which
solutions.
is what astronauts like do. Like that's that's what they have to do, right? Like
Yeah, look at Apollo 13. They had to come up with a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah,
or like
many-
the Martian is all about that, right? It's all about problem solving.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got to grow the poopy potatoes and all that, right? And the show often has these kinds of dilemmas that are like, okay, how are we gonna get around it? How are we gonna use intellect to solve this problem? How are we gonna work around
Work
it?
the problem.
Here Molly comes up with this idea, and Molly is an engineer, right? So she
So I have
engineers.
one question for you guys. Do you think that this would actually be broadcast? This
No way in hell.
No way.
Oh,
because there's such a high chance of her dying. It's hard to imagine, right?
or
Like
there's
someone-
no ice?
Well, oh yeah. That'd be like Geraldo going into Elliot Ness's vault or whatever.
But I don't
Also,
think
I
they actually
suppose-
did live broadcast it. I think
But they-
only the NASA people saw it.
No, it was live.
Oh yeah.
Also, they find ice. Aren't they showing the Russians where the ice is?
Yes.
Also, well, I guess they're like, we can't keep that under wraps. I don't know. It's weird that they don't try to keep this mission secret more.
They're
so
all watching it, Jody.
they're all watching it. Wayne shows up. He's
Wait.
back.
Well,
like
I
Wayne.
think, yeah, but there's a scene later on where whoever the Walter Cronkite guy is that's doing the news, he says, "Oh, and we just got word they're back in the LEM," and stuff like that. So I don't think they actually can see it. I think they're just watching the broadcast of people telling them what's going on.
I think they
I
can
don't
see
think they're
some.
actually seeing it.
Well, I think they can see what's up on Mission Control's screen to a degree because there's some of the camera feeds coming from Molly and Ed's suits are coming through the television, I think. Anyway, but Wayne's here and he made a painting for Karen of the panther that
A
he's going
Sex
to,
Panther, might I add.
along with Ed's devoured skull.
Like if that shit was in velour, that would be sexy as hell.
Now,
There's no-
I like Wayne. This is a weird gift.
Yes, and then he explains it to her as she's staring at it in horror.
Okay, so
And
I
he's
looked at
like,
it in a
it's
different
your
way.
nightmare, and she's like, "I know, Wayne. Thank you."
No, but I looked at it
She
as
just
a way
shows
that
up on her
this is,
doorstep carrying her nightmare. Like,
Yeah, he's like, I'm here.
okay, but you're missing the bottom line. The bottom line is he paints the stuff that he dreams so he can live with it. And
Yeah.
he can
Live with
understand
his
that it's not real and all that, right? So when his theory is, which I think is still crooked as hell, but I think his theory is, well, if I give her something that represents that, she'll be more okay with the idea, and then it won't be as bad, and then she'll maybe dream of something else.
And she's like, "Hey, Wayne, this is my literal nightmare come to life,
Yeah.
depicted."
You know
Let's
what?
hang it up. Let's
Thank
hang it up on the
you.
wall.
It's
you
kind of
know?
funny though. She takes it right into the living room with everybody else there and just sort of puts it on the floor versus like.
Well, she also faces it so nobody can see it either.
Yeah. Yeah. Her relationship with Wayne is ongoing.
You know what, though? It's a cool painting. Good
Yeah.
job. painting.
He's a good artist.
I
He's a good
slaved
artist.
over it all day. Look at all the paint on my sweater. You can tell.
You're a talent, Wayne.
I know.
I don't even know how you could do that,
I had to
like
shave
without getting your mustache full of paint. That's really
Well, I
what
had to shave it because of all the paint.
So,
Oh, I
so
see.
guys, consider this though. So she dreamt about this since he was in Korea. Korea happened 1950 to 53.
20 years.
She's carried this dream for 20 years.
Yeah.
Hmm. And it's every night?
I don't know.
I
No,
think
she
says-
said-
it will
only
be
when-
now.
When she dreams, that's what she dreams.
when
Yeah.
she like this idea that she doesn't dream the rest of the time unless it's this is, I don't know. I don't think it's quite accurate, but you might not remember, but
It is actually
No,
very
but
accurate.
she just was saying she didn't dream to shut down the conversation with Wayne.
yeah.
You know, if he had said, "Do you listen to music?" she would have been like, "I don't listen to music. I don't know anything about music."
No, I don't know anything. I only know what Ed likes.
She's
Yeah.
a fucking Karen. Oh man.
What a Karen.
Listen, the Karen is Karening, but she's having a hard time. Jody, cut her.
Give
some
her a
slack.
chance. Give her a
She's
chance.
been having a hard time for 20 years. Tell her to
Well,
get drunk with something.
It's
She
only
might-
been
she-
6 episodes.
She's going for the mezcal. Anyway, so then, okay, we get back to Molly and Ed, who are finally starting this death descent. Now, I like that Molly's argument too here is that I'm lighter than Ed, so it makes more sense for
so
me
I
to go
shouldn't be
down
on
here.
the- Well, yeah,
Uh,
because they need more counterweight on the top, right? So
Right.
of
So
course
there's
that's-
actually a very practical reason to have a woman in this particular mission
well,
scenario.
and you
here.
weigh 6 times less than what you do on Earth, right? So
Yeah.
it's-
I love too. He doesn't he doesn't want to do it, and then or he doesn't want her to do it, and then Mission Control is just like, actually, we're with her. She's
the better
we
option.
Agree.
based on weight and physics and all this kind of stuff.
She's clearly the better engineer here, so it makes more sense to listen to her.
Yeah, and she doesn't want to have to hold the cable on her end, like for him to go down there. But he's like, I was in the Navy, I climbed ropes, I know what I'm doing. But he gives in. So she heads down into the abyss. The title of the episode was this could be more terrified if you were living this, like that snaps, you fall down there, like.
This woman has the largest set of balls ever conceived and probably has ever visited the moon.
Yeah.
Like this woman is just insane. And she's amazing.
Do you ever be walking up the stairs at night and you get like a little chill and when it's dark behind you and you run up the stairs? No. Imagine this though.
Right.
I wouldn't want to do this.
Jeff, would you want to do this?
Hell no. Looks literally terrifying.
Like you're holding on by this little cable off the edge of the moon.
Keep in mind,
crater.
this isn't like some sort of like harness cable. This is fucking electrical wire. That's what this is.
What Wayne said too is like if that breaks and she falls, like she's going down like 2 miles. Like
even at 1/6 gravity, you're still gonna die.
Even at 1/6 gravity, you are not gonna have a good time. Like it's gonna suck.
Yeah. Anyway, so she's heading on down. I'm kind of skipping along here because the sequence goes on for a few minutes where she doesn't find anything, and they have to keep lowering her, and she's using up more oxygen.
It's a very good suspenseful scene.
Yeah, she's using up more and more oxygen, and they're like, "We have to pull the plug on this. We got to pull her up. And she keeps saying, "No, give me another chance." And then she finally spots something over here in like the corner of the crater, at the very lowest she can possibly go with the amount of cable they have. And they're saying you got to come up, but she's like 30 more seconds, and eventually she smashes the side of the crater here, and she exposes ice glitter,
which she couldn't do last episode. Remember?
Yeah, she
right. She wasn't so good with the as a geologist, with the prospecting previously, but she's improved that skill. Working late over there.
Well, with the ice, there will also be some oxygen in there too. So,
right. Yeah, of course, with the ice, they can make rocket fuel. They can. It will help them establish the base much easier if they have access to water instead of having to launch it up with rockets. So this is huge. This is like finding gold or oil or something of that stature on the moon.
Except there is some massive logistical challenges here, like refining this into water. That would be a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, you got to get the ore up there, and then you'd have to filter it, and then of course it would melt, of course, and all that. But it's plausible. Anyway,
you just put it in a Ziploc, and then it melts in the corner of the Ziploc.
Well, they can do that too.
Did you see the water that was being leaked off of that? Would you drink it?
Not with that moon dust in there. You wouldn't want to. It would be
no.
You'd have to clean.
See, they are watching this.
Yeah, they say they're watching. They're like, "Hey, she found it. She's okay."
No, but the announcer says they say they have found something.
I agree with that. And
but I don't think they're watching it live.
But why are they there? Like, why are
they are watching it live, but at this point they announced that they actually had made it back inside the module. So after they got the ice, they had a 3-kilometer walk back because now their vehicle doesn't work. The rover doesn't have 3.
But let's use the logic. If they are actually watching this in real time, okay, that means the Russians can also watch it in real time, which means the Russians now know exactly where they are. They know what they've found, and now they are literally replanning.
But I think the Americans are looking at this as like, we have the beachhead, we've claimed the first place.
I see what you're saying, Jody.
Who's gonna stop them?
Yeah,
Jody, are you saying that they're not watching like a live video feed from?
They're not watching the live.
Just watching a broadcast about what's happening, and the broadcaster is reporting. Like
could be that too. It's hard. They don't.
I think that makes more sense.
It does make more sense.
Baldwin talk to Karen like live in this episode?
No, he does that through the NASA.
Yeah, they have like a little NASA talk box thing.
So during the 50s and 60s and 70s, they had these little boxes that they run on a special RF band that they would hear. So you would be able to hear Mission Control, but you couldn't say anything back. It was just one way.
Oh. Well, okay. Anyway, so the celebration. So we see Molly and Ed back inside the limb, and they are, they've had a day. They're just trying to get oxygen back because they've used up a lot of their oxygen in their suits, especially Molly more so because she.
And I love this scene for the realism because the first thing you see him doing is he's actually brushing off all the equipment because there would be dust in it.
And that dust, as we mentioned, is very corrosive, very
It's very fine and it's very sharp, so it can literally cut through things. So. It's
anyway,
like what is that? Detrimental earth or whatever it's called.
They have a name for it.
Diatomaceous earth.
Diatomaceous earth. That's it. Yeah.
Of this particular dust. Anyway, but they hope to actually, when they finally do go to the moon in our world, they're planning to like actually make 3D print of it. You use it to make structures and things like that when they go back. Oh. Anyway, so then we see here that the press wants to talk to the spouses, and Wayne is a little hesitant, but Karen's like, "No, you're one of us. We accept you now."
This is the scene where I realized that one lady was married
Sedgwick.
to the guy that
Gloria. Her name's Gloria Sedgwick. As she's out here with the group. Everyone's happy back in Mission Control. Even Margot is giving a thumbs up. And I think Molly says, "Somebody take a picture." I don't believe it that she could actually crack a smile or something like that.
And then she stopped smiling really quick.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "Ha ha ha!" And then we got kind of
drinking tang.
The drinking tang, as astronauts do. You can see all that dust just on their underwear, right? That's come off the suits and then transferred onto their clothes.
Yeah, because these were white outfits before they left.
Yeah, and she talks about what was her bathroom solution? It wasn't a diaper, but it was something called Gemini or something, and it wasn't. It didn't seem like it was.
I would imagine they gave her the same equipment that they gave the men. It's just a little more acrobatic for her to use it.
Okay. There's some dialogue about that in the episode about, she's not too thrilled, but anyway, she says, "I need to know what it's all for." She grabs the Ziploc bag that has the sample in it that they think's ice. And what does she see? But it is melting inside of the Ziploc.
It's tasty moon water awaiting filtration.
Yeah. It's going to be a new bottled water brand.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
It's almost like Dasani.
It's almost like
really
Dasani.
close.
It's like Philadelphia tap water, really. And she takes some poses here. Ed grabs up the Nikon, and we got Molly taking lots of different shots here. She's happy. What a hero! She did it for king and country, as they say. I
love this because it's some really nice photos of her, as opposed to when they were taking the photos of her, like the mandated photos by the flag, and she's like.
Well, she's grumpy because back then she didn't think she was actually going to go.
Yeah. But even in this episode,
that's true.
at the start.
Yeah,
she's stoked about that.
The joy, because you don't see her this happy most of the time. So when you see her this happy, it's quite something. And then we see Apollo 15, the Seahawk. That was the name of the module. It does get to leave here on the moon. It launches up and goes up into the abyss of of space. And then there's a transition here where we get 2 years later. And they're back, everyone. They've come back with a whole new pressurized habitat.
Now they got a pod.
They got a pod, and they pretty much land where they were, almost exactly the same location as Apollo 15 had been, and they established Jamestown.
I love how it's called Jamestown. That's cool.
Yeah, the first.
I wish it had landed with no sound, and then we heard Russian voices.
Then the Ruskies are here
again.
Yeah,
damn Ruskies.
Yeah, but so you can see that this habitat is meant to sort of be modular and then be expanded upon as they will land more of these things.
The best thing is we're getting close to when I'm born. So that's good.
Actually, yeah, my wife has been born now. She would be a few months old at this point. The first lunar base established here at Jamestown.
Now, for us non-history buffs. I know Jamestown is another historic thing. Is it a colony in the state?
The first settlement.
Yeah.
The first settlement in America, yeah.
That lasted. Not the Roanoke one, right?
There was also 2 Star Trek ships called the Jamestown.
Yes. So Jamestown for King James, I think, right, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
it's also I think where Pocahontas is set as well. It's like the same.
It's in. Is it Maryland?
So a whole lot of colonizing
Virginia.
in the name of James.
Yes.
Well, that's essentially what they're doing on the moon now.
That's right.
Isn't there a Jamestown involved with a cult as well?
Well, that's
Jonestown.
Jonestown. Yeah.
Jonestown. Okay.
Kool-Aid.
Ghana.
Yeah. Did Nixon pick this name? I wonder how they came up with this name.
No, he would have called it Dicktown.
You would have called it Quakerville. Anyway, so that's kind of like this really exciting end of the episode as we jump 2 years ahead, and now we're setting up the moon bases, everybody. And
I have to admit, when I saw that scene, I was like, "Ah, shit! I want to go to the next one now."
Yeah.
Then I had to stop because I'm trying to do it for every episode.
Me too.
Yes.
Go ahead. I didn't want to stop either, but I had to.
I don't want to
That's a
ruin
good
it like
idea,
Heather's
'cause
already done.
I did. I watched ahead. I only have the last 2 episodes of season 4 to watch. And now that I'm at the end, I'm like, oh, I regret watching it all at once. I should have waited. It's so good, though. So what did everyone think?
Well, before we get to our ratings, let's.
Fun facts.
Adam's got our fun facts. Fun facts with Adam. Fun facts with Adam.
Graphic. Who made that?
I got
AI made that.
AI?
Don't tell Davin.
Don't tell Davin.
Is he listening? I hope not.
Probably not.
We have
Making
a
a good
whole
job for
I
man.
hope he is.
That's the case.
No, AI
Hey,
is
guess
just
what?
friend of the
We didn't
podcast.
hurt
Unused
anyone.
No one was heard of the creation of this.
No one was hurt
graphic.
in the creation of the fun facts graphic that we literally put together in 3 minutes. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So on that discussion of the Gemini bathroom thing, I checked what exactly happened. So as far as how they pooped, first there was little room in the footwells to stretch your legs out in the Gemini capsules to flatten the body such that your posterior they had to basically flatten the body so that the posterior could clear the seat by 6 inches. So if you look at the actual suits, there were zippers that basically opened the suit bottom like a triangle. And the long underwear then had a flap too, and then they would basically lift their hips and have a little sticky cap thing that would go on their butt, and they'd poop into this bag. Now peeing,
Glorious.
You have
was
to really want to do your job.
Yeah.
That's like a
It's
requirement.
important.
You have to really be into it.
well,
Are
this
you
is interesting
kidding?
because I'm
You
not
know
sure
what's
how this-
better? You know what's better than shitting on company time? Shitting in space on company
With a
time.
guy next
That
to
is
you.
amazing.
With a guy next to you.
That's
Girl.
fine. I'm good. I'm good
So
with that.
urination, they wore condoms with tubes on the end the whole time,
For, no matter the gender.
I guess.
Yeah.
So
All right.
anyway,
Not sure how that's going to totally work, but okay.
all right. So let's just talk about other things on this one. Some other fun facts. There's a lot here. So the alternate history. Apollo's landing site changed from Hadley Ryle to the Shackleton crater. However, if this would have happened, it would never have happened actually, because it wouldn't have been possible. They didn't have enough propellant to move them from one orbit to the other. In reality, however, it's a show. They needed to do what they needed to do.
So it just wouldn't have been feasible.
It just wouldn't be feasible. Yeah.
Because when you're within the atmosphere, well, the non-atmosphere technically, but because there is some gravity, they now have to fight the gravity, which means
Right, to change what their orbital.
And I think that
trajectory
these ships are so small and so fragile with weight and stuff. They just have what they need.
Yeah, the LEM isn't designed to really do anything other than land and then take off. That's it.
Yeah.
Like it's not designed to be doing a lot of maneuvering. It has the ability to, I guess, but
when asked how she felt about orbiting the moon, Molly's description of her impression from Earth was that it's hard to believe that everyone I've ever known, every country, every civilization contained in that tiny blue white ball. It's a paraphrase from Carl Sagan's description in his book Pale Blue Dot of the photo taken by Voyager 1 that looked back on Earth from 4 billion miles away.
fabulous book if you haven't
I'd
read
heard
it.
that quote before, so I was like, "That's stolen." I heard when she said that, I was like, "That's not hers."
Oh yeah, it's a great book though if you ever get a chance to read it.
Yeah.
The words spoken by Nixon to Molly are a variation of the words actually spoken to Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin in the real Apollo 11 mission.
Okay.
Baldwin's remark to Cobb upon landing on the moon, "You've come a long way, baby," was a pitch line from ads for Virginia Slim cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
These cigarettes were marketed to women through the 70s and 80s.
You've come a
And
long
then
way,
Smoke
baby.
cigarettes and stay slim with Virginia Slim, because you've come a long way, baby.
And then Fatboy Slim used it as an album cover.
There you go. Come full circle.
So Clayton Pool's shoulder patch indicates he was with the 196th Infantry Brigade. So I wanted to look about what was that about. So just to give you an indication of how many men at one time were in a brigade, between 3,000 and 5,000, whatever period in when they were fighting. So in Vietnam, they were involved in numerous campaigns, etc. But I'll just skip to this one. This is really interesting. November 29th, 1971, the 196 became a part of a separate temporary entity to safeguard an area of operations. But the entire company of the 196 was also involved in opposing the war by famously sitting down on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Which I thought, wow, I didn't know this story. This is interesting. Wow. So from there, they went on to port security duty. So they took them off the battlefield. But over time, when you look at their whole time between 1966 through 1972, the brigade suffered, remember what I told you, 3,000 to 5,000 men at any given time. They suffered 1,188 killed in action and almost 5,600 wounded in that 6 years. It's a lot of men.
And remember, America says they won that war.
Yeah. So the ribbon rack that he threw at the guard is evident that he earned, this is interesting as well, Silver Star, the Bronze Star Medal, the Purple Heart, Army Commendation Medal, National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal, and the Republic of Vietnam Campaign Medal. So he was definitely a decorated officer, or I'm not sure.
I'm wondering what he got injured with, though, because he wouldn't have got a Purple Heart unless he was injured.
Yeah, and clearly not enough to take him out of battle.
Yeah.
So that really comes out. There's not a lot on this episode, but some really interesting historical facts in here.
You did a great job. You should. They were very dissatisfied with my tenure last week in fun facts.
Let's tell you, Adam. Dave can't do the fun facts.
We missed you.
We did miss you.
I didn't want to.
There was nothing fun or factual about what he brought up.
They were all rebelling. They're saying we want Adam's fun facts. It was.
We were all sitting down.
Dave doesn't even have a logo, okay? So
AI generated or not, so it's a whole thing. Anyway, well, let's get into the ratings. And what did we think of this episode exactly? What am I doing? Here we go.
I don't know.
All right, Adam, do you want to start us off since you weren't here for Prime Crew and maybe give us last week's rating?
I'm going to stay in the 8 range for that one.
Okay. And for this episode?
I'll go first since I'm here. This jumps right back up to 10 for me. I love this episode. This is as good as Red Moon.
Great. Okay, I'll go next. I like this one a lot too. I'm going 9.5 for me. Kevin? 9?
Same. 9. Yeah.
Yeah. Heather?
This is a 9.5 for me.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because of Molly's hair.
Okay.
At the start, Molly's weightless hair, but that's it. Other than that, it was perfect.
9. Did you say 9 point?
9.5.
9.5.
9.5.
You took 0.5 off for that hair?
I did. I'm very strict about hair.
You are.
As you can tell by my artisanal mustache work.
Precisely. Jeff, what's your rating?
9.5 on this one.
9.5. Okay. Let's see. Oh, and Jody.
Yeah, I guess I might as well participate. I will do. You know what? I'm going to give this a 10. It was very good.
Wow. Okay. Big numbers here from the crowd. We're going up to 9.6. This is our highest rated episode so far. Not for Kevin. He's a consistent average of 9. but yeah,
he's the old standby 9. We got a standby 10, which is Davin, and we got a standby 9, which is Kevin.
We loved the first episode, except Jeff gave it a lower grade for the historical fuckery.
Well, I didn't like that episode all that much. I didn't get why everyone loved it so much.
Oh.
We thought it was a good start to the show, but
I think any episode, any pilot or whatever, it just got me right off. Like I was excited to watch the next one.
You know what? That was the first time I watched a pilot of a show, and I got that excited since like Walking Dead. The first episode of The Walking Dead was fantastic.
Oh yeah,
And
the first season was amazing.
Yeah, and then the second season sucked. But anyway, but
speaking of the next one, we are now halfway done season 1 officially, and we are heading into the second one. So season 1, episode 6 is our next review, and it's called Home Again. We see Gordo here.
Gordo.
This might be a lot about Gordo in this episode. Jody's favorite character.
Is this Apollo 18?
I think so. I think, yeah, we're getting into Apollo. I think it's also about the Jamestown mission, if I'm recalling correctly. Heather's watched it more recently than I have, but it's... Yeah.
Oh, but I've also watched like 4 more seasons of it, so...
She's like, they have floating cars and stuff.
I'm just trying to be very careful not to give anything away from the future. So I'm rewatching it each week as I go, just to make sure I'm clear on what we have and haven't seen.
I'm getting the vibe, even from this Jamestown capsule, just how pathetic our space program is today, and could have been had they just not stopped.
If the Russians were a little more aggressive and pushed them a little fast,
Yeah, and the caution, or the culture of caution, was less so. But then Challenger did blow up in '86, and that kind of really, you saw
that was a wrap.
And so,
I saw it live.
If Molly had actually died here, like what would have been
been a wrap?
That could have been a wrap there too, right? So, anyway, we're heading into it. Home Again. So it says the episode is largely featured. It says a launchpad accident leads to delayed missions and FBI background checks.
They're gonna find out Gordo's actually Russian. All right, nice.
Yeah, he's really a spy this whole time.
Gordo.
Yes. Okay. Any final thoughts, anybody, on this this whole
this
affair?
took too long. That's my final thought.
You gave it a 10.
No, I'm talking about this podcast.
Well, that's how it goes.
On that note, end transmission.
Mission. Oh no,
we don't do that here.
Yeah, no,
that's a different channel.
Jamestown out.
I was looking for something. I was looking for a good clip here. Daddy's home. Daddy, look what I drew. I thought I could find the Molly home line, but I'm not able to find it quite now. So anyway, we'll sign off for tonight. Live long and podcast, everybody, and go Leafs, go. See you next time.
You're doing well.
Hockey.
Have a good one. Good night.